Hello, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene. I'm here at JAFAX with Mike McFarland.
Hello
Mike,
there.
how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am not too bad, and it's been a while since I've done an interview with a voice actor, but I'm glad that you're my first one in my returning form.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. For those of you who don't know, Mike McFarland is a voice actor and an ADR director for Crunchyroll/Sony. You can see him as Jean Kirstein in Attack on Titan, Carnage Kabuto from One Punch Man, and Master Roshi from the Dragon Ball series. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the channel, know that yes, I do talk about anime and stuff, but I like to learn more about like the actors behind the voices and try to find out cool stuff about them. So we're really not going to talk about anime outside of my mention right there. So I would like to get into movies and music with you.
Okay, yeah.
So let's get it started. Why do you feel that Excalibur is the best King Arthur film?
You've been watching what I post or whatever else.
I actually watched the film too in preparation for this.
Okay. Had you seen Excalibur prior to me saying so?
I had not, because I was born in 1981 when that film came out.
Yeah.
So prior to that, I guess like my hearing about like the Knights of the Round Table and stuff like that, and then the Saturday morning cartoon and some arcade games, but pretty much that was like my intro into the Arthurian mythology.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you got to see it. Thank you for watching it. I think that is the best telling of King Arthur and all of those tales combined for a few reasons. I think aesthetically they did really well with the look. I think even with the look of it being when it was made, because it's a period piece and because it's fantasy, it still looks cool today. There's going to be hairstyle differences and, you know, some other differences as far as how things were shot during that time period versus now, but I still think that it looks very cool. I enjoy the performances in it. I think the acting in it's really solid. And for those who haven't seen it yet and go back, or do a deep dive and find that and watch it like the same way you did, you're going to see a lot of faces that are now a bit more famous and now a bit more known.
Some heavy hitters.
Yeah, some heavy hitters that were, maybe not as big back then. That were just solid actors who were picked because they were solid actors and not because they were superstars. I love the music that's in it. For my ear and for me going to the movies and me being my age, that was my first experience hearing Carmina Burana, and they used it like that was pretty much the action theme song of that movie. So anytime there was a bunch of blades cracking back and forth and riding on horseback and with flags and people going to battle, Carmina Burana was playing, and that was huge and epic for my little brain to grab. I still go and see it when it's played in theaters from time to time. I live in the Dallas area, so Texas Theater will play older movies quite frequently, and they, about every year and a half, 2 years, they will have an Excalibur screening, and as long as I'm in town, I'm 1,000% there to see it.
One of the things that stood out, two things stood out to me, like seeing the heavy hitters before, like they, I was like, well, who is it? I was like, oh, that's Liam Neeson. Oh, that's Helen Mirren. I was like, was not expecting that.
Yeah.
And
Patrick Stewart's in there too.
Patrick Stewart too. That was like the first one. I was like, is that Patrick Stewart?
Yeah.
And then like I literally had to pause the film to go to IMDb, you know, because like I had to like know like in the moment, not like a short attention span thing, but it's like I legit had to know.
Yeah.
So I liked seeing like the heavy hitters when they were younger, but I was a little confused when I was watching the film initially, and then when I sat down and I thought about it, like Helen Mirren, who played Morgana, I was like, why is she now trying to like cause chaos? But then I was like, well, I guess it makes sense that, you know, her dad, you know, was, you know, set up to fail, died. This isn't really spoilers for a 1981 film. He died. She knew it.
It's also not spoilers for like Canterbury Tales and,
Yes.
and King Arthur lore.
But then, like, watching her, I was like, why is she doing this? And then when I sat down and really thought about it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But the second thing that stood out to me was, like, near the end of the film, when you see the red sun in the background. I was like, wow, that is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got great visuals in that. I love their Mordred. I love the Mordred armor. I love Morgana. And that's my favorite Merlin performance as well.
Okay.
That is... goodness, now that I put myself on the spot. He also played a really cool Sherlock Holmes in a movie called 7% Solution. And suddenly his name is gone. But that is my favorite actor who has played Merlin.
Okay. Well, speaking of films with unique, not unique imagery and whatnot, because I was alluding to like the sun and stuff. What are your thoughts on A Clockwork Orange?
Clockwork Orange.
A Stanley Kubrick film.
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick is probably my favorite director, and if not, then he's one of my favorite directors. I love his visual style. And as far as Clockwork Orange, there's obviously some stuff in it that's meant to be provocative in a negative way. It's supposed to turn you off. It's supposed to disgust you. It's not glorifying. It's meant for you to go like, oh, it's ultra violent. They even call it that.
Yes.
I think that it is I think it's a great movie. I think it's in the same way that the violence isn't meant to be glorified. I think you're watching a bunch of people, none of which are meant to be glorified at all. But it is an interesting story, cautionary tale, a whole bunch of things rolled into one. I love the visual style of it. I think it's such a slick, unique movie. If you see some of the costuming, if you have any, film history, media literacy on that sort of thing at all, like it's Clockwork Orange. Like you can immediately
Easily.
like the buildings, the costuming, even just like quick little glimpses of the movie just from the style that it's shot. Yeah, I think it's Kubrick is a really, really, really great filmmaker.
Yeah, and I have the soundtrack for that, and I've read the original book. I own it as well. Well, I guess I'm going to... Well, now looking at these questions, I guess it's along with like British-themed media. Thoughts and / hopes for the upcoming Spinal Tap 2?
Oh, Spinal Tap 2. I would love to go in blind. I've seen Spinal Tap many, many, many times. If I see a trailer for Spinal Tap 2, if I'm watching something that's already there, I'll watch it. I'm not going to seek out a trailer. If I have the opportunity to just buy a ticket and go in and know nothing about what they're going to do or how they're going to approach 2024, that would be great.
Do you think the ticket prices will be $11?
Oh, now the ticket prices for $11, that'd be cheap in some places.
Yes, I think that would be pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of important rockumentaries, are you familiar with Bad News?
Not by name. I think there's a Motorhead song called Bad News, or Don't Bring Me No Bad News, or something like that.
Well, Bad News actually came out shortly before Spinal Tap.
Okay.
And it pretty much the exact same thing, like this rockumentary about this pretty much horrible rock group called Bad News. And it had most of the cast of that old 80s British comedy, The Young Ones.
Oh, okay. I love The Young Ones.
Like oh, wow. I wish I would have known that. I love that series.
Yeah. I just mentioned Motorhead. That was the first time I ever heard Motorhead, was Ace of
Yes.
Spades in their show.
And that was the episode when they were going off trying to go to the University Challenge. When Neil was like, oh. Yes. And then Motorhead came on with Ace of Spades.
Yep.
Well, all right. That's a good segue into like music, because I definitely wanted to talk to you about music. First album you ever purchased with your own money?
Oof. I was fortunate that my parents would buy me something if I was interested in it. They had their own records, and they would have other ones that they would buy. I think the first one that I was like, please give me this, that they bought me was Blondie, probably Parallel Lines or something like that. And then the first thing I ever bought of my own accord, because I was very like, I want to hang on to my money, I bought a cassette of David Lee Roth's first solo record after he and Van Halen parted ways, which was called, I think it's called Crazy from the Heat. And it was a bunch of cover songs. He had like Just a Gigolo on there. And that was the first thing I bought, because I'm like, look, there's only like 5 songs and I know all of them, and 3 of them are on the radio. This is a very good deal. Versus like, I could buy an album with 10 songs and I only know 1 of them. At that point, my brain didn't grab there might be great songs that aren't singles,
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Middle school Mike was he hung on to the money a little tighter.
Albums that are important to you?
Let's see. Albums that are important to me. I'll throw out a few, because I love music, and I probably couldn't narrow it down. Like,
that's why I wanted to do this interview with you, because I feel that we're kindred spirits.
The Church, Starfish. I love that record. Death Cab for Cutie, Transatlanticism, and Plans, but Transatlanticism first. Metallica, Master of Puppets. Slayer, Rain and Blood. Sisters of Mercy, Floodlands. There are many good Ramones records, but I'm just going to say Ramones Mania because it's a double album of like just singles left and right, and it's just a good sit down with the Ramones record. 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine. I'm going to go home and be like, why didn't you say these other ones?
It's all good.
But like those are some off the top of my head. I love all those records.
9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral is an important album to me.
Downward Spiral is wonderful, and so is The Fragile. I love
absolutely.
that little blast of the first several records.
And actually, The Downward Spiral was the first album I ever purchased with like my own money.
There you go.
I had to sneak out of a high school field trip to go buy it from a Best Buy, and I was worried that they weren't going to sell it to me because it had an explicit lyrics sticker on it.
Right, right.
But looking back at it, I don't think like the teller was like really cared.
I don't know if they, because I'm trying to remember that time period. I don't know if they wouldn't sell it to you or if it was like in the same way that it was PG. Like if there wasn't a parent there to say one way or the other and you wanted to take it to a PG movie, I think you still got the ticket.
Went home, put on my headphones, and that album blew my mind.
Yes.
It is just that's one of those albums for me that's a no skip.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
First concert that you've been to?
First concert. I don't know. I think the first concert where I got in my car and drove to another town type situation versus my parents bringing me to a concert, that would have been, it was a very, very metal show. Let me think of the lineup. Because the following week I went and saw Iron Maiden after that.
Nice.
For one of their tours, but this was a smaller club show. The album's called Awaken the Guardian, and they are very like Iron Maiden prog, and I can't think of the name right now. But yeah, it was at the Ritz in Austin, and it was 3 or 4 bands. The Big F, I think, was one of them. And yeah, I'm just blanking on the name. I could go back and look at all my records now and go like, it's that one, Mike. But now I can't think of the band who had the album Awaken the Guardian. But it was metal.
Best concerts you've been to so far?
Best. I don't know. The 2 Cruel World shows that I've been to, the festivals out in California, those were really good shows. The first Lollapalooza was a good show. Individual bands, 9 Inch Nails on, strangely enough, I think the tour was for The Slip, and if it wasn't The Slip, it was one of those records right around there. They had like 3D hologram stuff on stage mixed in with the band that was playing, and they just would change their visual on a song-to-song basis, and it was a really incredible, like the music was very good, and the visuals were very good, and I hadn't seen someone do that before.
Was that the one, because I did see 9 Inch Nails around that time. They had Boris open up for them, and I was very happy that Boris came through. But was that the one where they had like, it looked like sparks were like showering down digitally, and it was like going around them as if they had like an umbrella?
That was one of them, yeah. And then another time they'd be like in a swamp or something. Like it would just change all around them all the time. It was really, really cool looking.
They are really good in concert.
They are. They're very good in concert. Man, outside of that, I don't know. I've got to see a lot of bands that don't exist anymore. I'm glad I did. Like I mentioned the Ramones earlier. I got to see the Ramones like half a dozen times, and that is old school, good American punk.
Well, since you were from Texas, did you ever get to see Pantera back in the day?
I did not get to see Pantera back in the day. I went through a phase where I was like, I'm done with metal. I'm going to listen to other things now. And then I eventually came back to metal maybe like 8 to 10 to 12 years later. But that would have been mostly 90s, I suppose, for Pantera to play a lot of local stuff. And that was me listening to more alt rock and things like that. And it took until late 90s, early 2000s with, like Lamb of God and stuff like that for me to like, oh, this is what metal's doing now. Cool. I like it again. I just got tired of it.
Are there any bucket list bands that you would like to see?
Who have I not seen that I would love to see? There was an ad for a doubleheader, and I haven't seen either of them. I would like to see. I saw an ad for it in the hallway of Heart and Cheap Trick.
Okay.
I've never seen Heart and I've never seen Cheap Trick, and those are both great bands. I don't know. I keep lucking out and like catching them. Like I've seen Paul McCartney. I got to see I saw Paul do his own show. I saw Black Sabbath before they broke up, and I saw them with Ozzy singing and with Dio singing. I've seen I saw the Ramones. I would have to go back. I keep little photo album books of like concert tickets and pictures I took at shows and stuff like that. And like if I catch a guitar pick, that's in there too. I have all these old books of shows that I've been to. I don't know who I haven't seen that I'm dying to see, but I see bands as often as I can. I go to several concerts. Sometimes several concerts a month, definitely several a year, but sometimes several a month.
I can only imagine your budget. That's a good segue into my next question.
Yeah.
Would you like to see Ticketmaster / Livenation be reined in or reduced in power because of like the exorbitant fees that are attached? I'm not talking about like your local shows, but
Sure.
like your bigger events.
I think more competition is healthy in any situation. I have learned that if I'm dealing with one of those places and I'm trying to get some tickets, to seek out the actual ticket prices versus the verified resellers, and I just filter the verified resellers out where I'm not even looking at those tickets, because I don't want to go to a show and look at tickets and see that like front row is $5,000. That's not real. That's not what the band's selling it for, and that's not actually what Ticketmaster is selling it for. That's what someone bought it, and they're trying to make money off of other fans who really, really want to see the show. And I think that that's awful. I realize that prices will go up, and I realize that things are, like when I started going to see even bigger shows, it was like $25, $30, $40, and club shows were like $5 or $10. And when I saw Paul McCartney, it was not cheap. But that's a knighted Beatle. So, but like even beyond that, I like what The Cure did a few years ago with their tour, which was we are going to go through Ticketmaster or Live Nation, whichever it was. The tickets will be this much. The fees will only be this much. They had a whole bunch of stipulations. And if anyone wanted to resell, they would only be able to resell it at the price they bought it for and not 1 penny more. And if someone was trying to do that, they could find the ticket via the SKU or whatever the person had the ticket up there for, and would void it from that person and put it back out for sale as a brand new ticket.
I remember seeing that, and that's commendable.
That's great. I wish more people there's a lot of artists, not just The Cure, who could say, we want that and push for that. And I wish that they would. And especially knowing that The Cure did that and then so many others have not, it makes me question whether or not it really bothers them.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You're a guitarist as well.
I am.
What was your first guitar?
My first guitar, it was an electric guitar. It was a PV Mantis, which is like a flying V star looking thing. Mine was red, and it had a black pick guard and a maple neck, so it was a lighter wood color. My current guitars, I mostly have rosewood necks because I just like the look of dark wood.
Both acoustic and electric, or just acoustic?
I have acoustic and electric. My first guitar was an electric. I don't remember what my first acoustic was. It may have been a Takamine. I've had 2 or 3 Takaminis. My current acoustic is a Yamaha Compass that's got like a really cool inlay around the sound hole, and it's got cool inlay on the neck as well. There's like a Eye of Ra on the 12th fret and some other stuff. Nice. Like it has kind of an Egyptian hieroglyphic sort of theme to it.
I just have oddly enough, I write with my right hand and I fret with my right hand, so I have a left-handed guitar.
Okay.
And, I have an Ibanez, just RGA, left-handed. Slowly been trying to learn how to play guitar again. I had an urge about 18 years ago. I was I want to learn how to play guitar. Didn't really apply myself. And then fast forward, I got the urge to do it again and be serious about it, So I like the fact that like when I do practice, like I am slowly improving, but I do find it hard to stay motivated for practice because I don't find practice fun.
Man, I find song learning much more fun than like scales and drills. I know that those are important, and I sometimes will just sit there and do scales and like variations of a scale. Like I'll do, runs of 3, or runs of 4, runs of 5, and then just repeat it over and over again, or skip 1, 3, 2, 4, whatever, and just like that. But I would rather learn how to play a song and let that be my improvement for the day. Of like, oh, okay, so they're not playing the root; they're playing the third as the first string, and it's an inversion. Oh, that's a neat chord. Like, and just learn things that way.
I recently had watched someone. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, The Boondocks.
Yes.
So Uncle Ruckus, you remember like the tuba theme song, which was pretty much Jabba the Hutt's theme song from Star Wars and stuff. So this person had played it on acoustic, and someone was like, well, can I get like a tab of that? And the guy was like, sorry, I can't help you. I literally like downloaded that video and watched it over and over and over again, like initially watching his fretting hand and watching his picking hand, and I was able to actually figure it out by ear and slowing it down. So like I've never done that before, but I'm like, I have that going for me, so I've at least improved. So you have a BFA in music with a focus on business.
And, and a minor in theater.
And a minor in theater.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What were your initial plans or hopes for a career in music?
Rock star. So that was they didn't have Rock Star University, so I just did my best and learned all about the performance aspect of it, the writing aspect of it, scoring, all that sort of stuff. And the business aspect of it, I was interested in just because I was interested in the music business. I ended up interning and having a part-time job with a couple of different labels. And within like a year and a half's time, learned that I did not want to work in the music business. I would love to keep playing music and have a band and whatever else, but that side of it was incredibly not interesting to me. I did get to have some cool moments with it, though. I got to work some shows that I'll never forget and had some opportunities. Probably the biggest one of which was I got to help out backstage and side stage with David Bowie's tour where Nine Inch Nails was opening for him. David Bowie's outside tour, and Nine Inch Nails played, and the music never stopped. So for a time, David Bowie came out, and Nine Inch Nails was his backing band, and slowly, like song for song, player for player, they would switch out to become Bowie's band.
I've seen footage of that on YouTube.
Yeah, I worked one of those shows.
Dude, I'm jealous.
I'm so lucky, so lucky.
You had mentioned The Cure earlier. So you're a fan of Echo and the Bunnymen, The Cure, and the Sisters of Mercy.
Yep.
If someone was new to the post-punk slash goth genre, which songs or albums would you recommend?
Okay, like hits, like...
No, songs that you would recommend.
Okay, let's see. Album-wise, I mentioned The Church Starfish earlier. I still think that one's very good. Echo and the Bunnymen, Songs to Learn and Sing, which is like a collection of their singles. Ramones Mania. Document, REM. I think that was like their last IRS Records song is the one with the One I Love on it. It's a really good album. I mentioned Sisters of Mercy Floodland before. The Cure, Head on the Door. Jesus and Mary Chain, Darklands. I don't know. I'll probably think of several more. And then singles-wise, there's just a bunch of really good songs from that era. Just Like Heaven is great from The Cure.
Absolutely love that song. The Pornography album's pretty good by The Cure.
Pornography is great, too. That's probably their darkest record. Don't Change by NXS, I think, is a solid post-punk song. As is The One Thing. They have some really good songs. Yeah, I'm at a blank, but yeah, I could go home and just look at stuff like, yeah, this one, yeah, this one, yeah, this one.
Sorry, I'm bombarding you with so many questions and
That's
putting
all
you on
good.
the spot. But
I'm at least answering some stuff.
no, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about Typo Negative?
I love Typo. They fit into a couple of categories, so it's neat to go see like who loves them and who likes them, because the doom
camp.
rock people like them.
Absolutely love them.
Goth people like them. Some industrial people like them. Metal people like them. People who like horror movies like them. They kind of have an interesting mix of an audience. I think they do some really interesting things, and I love Peter Steele's voice, and I love their approach to songs.
And they're just a band that will never be able to be reproduced. I mean, rest in peace to Peter Steele. You know. Well, actually, are you familiar? Speaking of like doom type music, are you familiar with Desmond Doom or a band from Belarus called Molchat Doma?
Not by those names. No, I may have heard the songs before, and it's not locking in.
All right. Well, I mean, I could probably like tweet out something to you. Like,
Okay.
I think you would like that because they are definitely in the veins of like the goth / post punk music, but they're like newer bands.
Okay.
You know, and you mentioned Nine Inch Nails earlier. This isn't necessarily like a question, but it's just definitely one of the coolest things that I've seen. Like when Trent Head did like this small concert with Peter Murphy, and like I love their cover of Reptile.
Reptile.
It's like my favorite version of Reptile.
Reptile's great. Yeah, that cover is great.
Absolutely. So we're going to go into like the last topic of this interview. You are also a fan of bands like Nitzer Ebb, Ministry, and Combi Christ.
Yep.
If someone was new to the electronic / industrial genre, what songs / albums would you recommend?
Let's see. Headhunter by Front 242 as a song. Family Man by Nitzer Ebb.
Oh, that's how you pronounce it. Thank you.
I do. I think even they themselves are like, we don't care. Nitzer and Nitzer. But I go with Nitzer. Nitzer Ebb. Let's see. Combat Christ, Get Your Body Beat is what I would throw out for someone who'd never heard them before. I think that's a good introduction song. Probably fits more in the previous category than this one, but I'll throw out Love Like Blood by Killing Joke. Let's see. What's some other good industrial stuff? Drawing a blank.
Can I throw out two things?
Sure.
From back in the day. Pop Will Eat Itself, Ich bin ein Ausländer.
Yeah.
And I'll have to say this is like probably one of my favorite covers of all time, Ministry's Lay Lady Lay.
Okay. I left out Ministry entirely. Ministry's great. Just industrial-wise, whatever, I would throw out Stigmata and New World Order. I think those are just two solid songs to throw out to that pile.
That was the first Ministry song that I ever heard.
New World Order?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's a good song. I mean, like, would you feel that KMFDM is like in the industrial thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, their song Ultra is just, I love that song.
Yeah. KMFDM.
And Juke Joint Jezebel is a good one, too.
They're one of the bands that get a pass because I normally don't like when bands name themselves in their own songs a lot. They do that all the time. They get a pass. Their songs they're great.
Speaking of like industrial and with the metal, do you like Fear Factory?
Yes, I do. I love them in general, but I also love another song that would fit into that kind of post-punk category would be Cars by Gary Newman.
Yeah.
They do a good cover of Cars.
Yes, they do. It's an excellent cover.
Yeah.
Their Demanufacture album is my favorite one with like Self-Bias Resistor. Like back in the day, like here in Grand Rapids, we used to have this radio program called Out of Control Saturday Night where they would actually play like metal that wasn't like your radio-friendly stuff.
Okay.
Because it was like after 9, so they can get away with like a lot more stuff. And then that was like my introduction to like Ministry and stuff like that. Do you venture into like death or black metal?
Yeah, not necessarily by category, but I like most metal in general. It can get too not screamy. It can either get it can either get too high pitched screaming or it can get too Cookie Monster sometimes. And then it can also be a bit too. We like to change time signature every 2 seconds for me. I like to be able to bang my head and to get into a dance and get into a rhythm. And if a metal band is too constant time change for me, I'm not interested in sitting down with a calculator and figuring it out. I'm just going to listen to something else.
So no dissonant prog metal.
Some
Dissonant prog metal.
Dissonant prog, just a little bit, like not a whole lot, and I'll be done.
Opeth's great, you know.
Opeth's great.
And finally, like in the metal genre, are you familiar with the band which they got their name from? Ties back into the first question from Excalibur. Are you familiar with the band Anaal Nathrakh?
Anaal Nathrakh. Yes, I am. Yeah, I've only heard a few songs. They sound good. And I was the person driving home like, we have a new band coming out, and I can't pronounce it because they pronounced it in the wrong way for Anaal on the radio. And I was like, I know what this is. I could have told you.
Wait. So that's like legit playing on the radio? Like you guys have like
Well, and
death
by
metal?
radio, I mean I have satellite radio.
Oh, okay.
So it's playing on like the metal station on Sirius XM.
I was like, is Texas doing things a lot better as far as like metal goes on the radio?
I gave up on regular radio many years ago. I was fortunate. My brother, probably around like 2008, 9, somewhere in there, got me a Sirius radio with a like 6-month or a 1-year subscription. And at the time that came up, I had been listening to it. I'm like, oh, this is great. I love having this, and it's so much better than standard FM radio or AM radio or anything like that. When I called to re-ante up my subscription, I found out years later that I happened to be within a very short period of time that they did this, because they certainly don't do it anymore. Like, well, you have this much for 6 months, this much for a year, or you can have a lifetime subscription, and it was like $250. I'm like, oh, I'll take that. I'll take the lifetime subscription. And later on, they tried to make it as what we mean is lifetime of the radio. So when the electronics break, and everyone was like, no, that's not what she said. So it has since been settled since then, like through some sort of dispute, and lawyers were involved, that you as a human being have it, but when you transfer it from one radio to another, like you get a new car or something, there's a $10 transfer fee.
That's not too bad.
That's okay.
Not all things considered.
Yeah.
No. So the final 3 questions of this interview. What's new that you would like to promote?
New that I would like to promote. Let's see. It's not new anymore, but it is newer. If you haven't seen Chainsaw Man yet, Chainsaw Man is awesome. I'm the voice director on that show, and I love that show. Much newer than that recently wrapped up, a Bones anniversary show called Metallic Rouge. That show's a lot of fun. In the vein of something like Blade Runner, but like anime. So check that out if that's your thing.
It was a good series.
Oh,
I
cool.
watched it in preparation.
Yeah, I like it. I like it quite a bit, and I love the performances in it. I love the cast, and I love the show in general. The characters are really, really cool. And current season of My Hero Academia. I am now the voice director on that, and that is a very cool show, and I'm glad that I get to be part of that in a larger capacity.
I agree. It's a cool show.
Yeah.
I have not yet started the new season. I'm just waiting for like episodes to come out a little bit more, because I don't have to like watch it immediately. I like to take my time and digest it. Social media wise, where can people find you?
Let's see, on not Twitter, but X, but really Twitter. Mike McFarland, VA. Same handle on Instagram. I think same handle on Threads. Where else am I? Blue Sky, probably same handle. And Hive, is that what it's called? Hive, same handle? Yeah, I think that's what it is. I signed up for several like Twitter is syncing sites, thinking which one of these is going to hit, and now I have a bunch of the other ones like that, and I try to still keep up with them because I started them, so I'm not going to abandon them. But I also, let's see, outside of those, I'm also on Facebook. My fan page, I think, is like Mike McFarland Fans, something of that nature. But yeah, I keep up with all of those. Yeah.
Speaking of fans, what would your message be to the fans of you throughout all the years?
Thank you very much. I appreciate your kind words and your attention, and you're watching anything that I've had anything to do with. I always do my best, and I appreciate each and every one of you that come up and say hi to me at an event, or anyone that just messages me online in some capacity. I have lots of long days of working, of either directing or acting or whatever, and sometimes coming home and seeing something like that is just the thing that makes that day so much better.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for this interview. Folks, this is Joe from My Geek Scene at JAFAX with Mike McFarland. Take it easy.